Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB betting guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com, at UCapper Sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt and Jeff Michaels to break down the two games that we have going on tonight in the NBA playoffs. The second round is here, guys. Before we get into those games, though, I do want to talk about what we got going on over at SportsMemo.com. It is Monday, so as always, $9 Mondays over at SportsMemo.com. All picks and packages are available over there on sale for just $9. And we also have the live odds pages. We got the free picks and analysis on a daily basis as well. So make sure you check out the other pages on the site before you look at any of the paid packages. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple clicks, and it helps our show grow tremendously here. With that said, let's get Matt and Jeff up here with me. Jeff, man, we normally see you on like Wednesday or Fridays. It's surprising to see you on a Monday, but glad to have you here, especially with two games on the board. How was your weekend in the NBA?
Yeah, I can't complain. I was watching the ends of those series. I didn't put any NBA bets down the last day or two, but a couple NBA or a couple MLB plays out, and yeah, it looks like I think there was only one game on Monday, so looks like the powers that control this thought you two could handle that one. So decided to throw me in on a Monday, and I can't complain. Good way to start the week.
Love it. Yeah, Matt. Yesterday I went 2-2, guys, but overall, like a profitable weekend between the NBA and the MLB. But I know, Matt, you don't touch on MLB that much, but how was like UFC and NBA and things like that this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend I only had NBA bets, and it was a bloody weekend. I will be honest. I went 1-4. It was my worst weekend in I don't know a couple months probably, and they happen sometimes. I just didn't see it right. I was on the Suns over the Nuggets. That definitely didn't happen. And looking back on that, definitely should have been on the other side, in terms of level of competition. The Suns were facing the Clippers, who didn't have Kawhi Leonard. So I think that step up in competition against the Nuggets maybe shell-shocked them a little bit. Probably should have saw that coming. But, that stuff happens. I'm ready to bounce back this week. We got it's round 2. Got the Warriors and Lakers coming up. That's going to be a great series. So very excited to break down some basketball as always and have a bounce back week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, the weekend was okay, but like I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I didn't have a winning NBA play, so we're all about transparency here on the Triple Double Show, and hopefully we cash for you guys today. Actually, we got two games here. I got a play on the premium play on the late game, so we'll talk about that later. But let's talk about this first game here, the Sixers and the Celtics. We got Game 1 of the Sixers and Celtics here. Celtics kind of dominated that regular season series with I think they won 3 of the 4 matchups, but they did cover all 4 of them. From a total perspective, 3 of the 4 games went under the closing total. I know, we've known Embiid has been listed as doubtful, but earlier today, there was some news that he was present at shoot-around. I'm not sure if that meant he participated. I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but do you guys see anything from a betting perspective in this one with sort of questionable news here with Embiid? Matt, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, honestly, I have a couple looks from this game, and if Embiid plays, it'll definitely change some things. Because right now at this point in time, the spread really isn't something I want to mess with. You guys have heard me talk about this on the show before. I don't love these high point spreads. 9.5 is a lot of points in the grand scheme of things. And, if I were to go anywhere there, I might go with the 76ers. But I'm also looking at the total in this spot. And I actually do like the over, just for the pure fact that, again, this is all around Embiid. Embiid cannot play for me to like this over here, just because without Embiid, I believe this team picks it up in pace. James Harden can get out and run. Tyrese Maxey can definitely get out and run. And this is also a Boston Celtics team who likes to pick up the pace a little bit, especially without Embiid. I think they're going to attack the basket that much more as well. So the Sixers team is going to get up and down the court. A player that I am looking at is Tyrese Maxey. I love the look of Tyrese Maxey in these games. I think he's that guy who, he's going to be matched up with a Marcus Smart or a Derek White. So it's not the easiest in terms of opposing defender, but he is so quick. Once he gets his shot going as well, he's one of those players you definitely have to look out for. And this game will be, as long as Embiid does not play, once again, I didn't know about that, Ron, so that does make me a little weary. It's a little weird that he's showing up at shoot around and stuff like that. But without him, it's going to be a big time Tobias Harris, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey style game. And of those three, the best shooter in my eyes is Tyrese Maxey. So he would be the guy that I would be looking at in this spot. Again, if I had to go anywhere, it actually would be the 76ers plus 9.5. I think that's a lot of points. But I do like the over a little more than that. This is a 76ers team who is 11-5 on the season without Joel Embiid. Thanks, StatMuse. Now that's a paid subscription site, so it kind of sucks a little bit. But again, they're 11-5 on the year. So for me, it would be the 76ers with the points, but I like that total a little bit better. And if you're looking at a player prop, check out Tyrese Maxey.
What was the number you said for Maxey on the points or the points?
I was just looking at that. 23.5. So they expect him to go off tonight. It's
gotcha.
He's
So I'm looking
higher, but he's earned those numbers. He's been very consistent. He's been very aggressive. You can definitely see him getting at least around 15 shots here. And you know, in terms of Harden or Tobias, those guys sometimes do take those nights where they don't shoot as much. You don't really see that with Maxey. So, when you're taking those higher point player props, you want volume. Volume is the thing to look for there. And that's what Tyrese Maxey definitely has.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the last 10 games for Maxey without Embiid, and he's gone over that 23.5 in 8 of the 10 games. So if Embiid does not play tonight, that's definitely the way to look as far as prop plays. Let's go to Jeff here. What are your thoughts on this one, Jeff?
Yeah, two things stood out to me. I was hesitant looking at this line too, but you look at those numbers that Matt actually gave you on the Embiid stats playing without Embiid. Philly is 11-1 against the spread this year on the road without Embiid. They've covered 7 straight as an underdog without Embiid. And they've covered 7 straight in general without Embiid, 5 of which were as an underdog. So, I don't anticipate Philly to come out and win this game, to be honest. But laying so many points, the last I saw was 10. I heard Matt say 9.5. So, we're sitting right around that 9.5, 10 point number. But these books are undervaluing what Philly has. I think you put this kind of season that Embiid had, and the books are almost giving him value of an MVP. And I'm not, taking away from anything that he's done this year, but, there are other parts to that team too that can obviously score. But for the long term, it is a little concerning to me, the fact that Philly hasn't played a game since April 22nd. So they're either going to be very fortunate with the Embiid situation that they had such a long break, or Embiid's going to miss longer than one game. And this is, going to be a bigger deal because he's already had, 8 days to recover in April that they didn't play a game. And he still isn't healthy enough to play in game 1. And the other thing that stood out to me was Boston in revenge situations. 6-16, revenging a loss. 3-13 against them this year, revenging a same season loss, and they're 0-7 at home, revenging a road loss. So they did lose to Philly in the last game. I know this is a different environment, a different situation, but if Philly can play physically, I think they can make up for the Embiid missing, or Embiid not being there, solely because, Boston's a dominant team. Boston's an impressive team, but, even their center, even in Robert Williams, you're not looking at a guy really constantly playing that's over 6'10". So, outside of Al Horford, but you're not getting beaten with size there. So if you can match them in physicality, which, again, I'm not entirely sure if they can to win the game outright, but I do think that they match them enough to cover, almost a double-digit spread here tonight. So I do like Philly.
Yeah, that line did actually touch double digits last night. And when I was doing my analysis and breakdown on this game, that's kind of what I was looking at that double digit line. So, if looking at a long term league wide trend that I found since 2016, the NBA playoffs, double digit favorites in round two or later, 15-2 straight up, but 6-10 against the spread. And that kind of goes to your point, Jeff, that there's a situation where Boston can win the game, but Philly cover that large spread there. I think the biggest thing here is kind of just waiting for this Embiid news, because I think that line has moved like a point and a half down to 9 or 9.5 in most books, because of just the news that he was present at the shoot around. But we don't know if he's going to play. If he ends up sitting, you get that number back up to double digits, where we think, obviously the higher the number, the better the value for you. But I can only look towards the Sixers covering that spread here. But I do have my show best bet is going to be on the team total on this one, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's go ahead and move on to the Suns and the Nuggets, game two of tonight, the last game of today. The both teams here, man. Game one, both teams started out pretty hot. I think both teams I went over the 30-point mark in the first quarter there. The Nuggets then dominated that second quarter, which pretty much was the difference maker in that game, because they won the second quarter by 18 points, 37-19. They end up winning the game by 18 points. So that was the only quarter where that big difference was pretty much, like I said, the difference maker there. The Nuggets had 6 players in double figures, including 3 players over 20 points. Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon were the only 2 players who played more than 32 minutes. So it's not like they overexerted themselves. The top 5 players. The Suns only had 4 players in double digits scoring, and KD and Booker had 29 and 27 respectively. Booker ended up playing 40 minutes, and I talked about this in the series preview on some of the shows here, that the depth of the Nuggets was going to be a problem for the Suns. I know the rotation for both teams are around like eight men deep, but when I say the depth, it's because the top end players for the Suns are playing such heavy minutes, versus the Nuggets, like Jokic and Murray and Gordon. They're not hitting that 40 minute mark there. So that's what I mean. Like, their bench, even though the rotation is about the same, 8 players deep, the bench is playing heavier minutes, like 20 minutes into the game there. So I think that's going to be the difference maker for what I think is going to be a 7-game series. And that's the reason why I kind of look towards the Nuggets to get this done. Games. One thing the Suns said, guys, into game 2 here is that they were going to try and be more physical, right? The Nuggets dominated the offensive glass 16-8 in that game 1. They also dominated the turnover battle. The Suns turned the ball over 16 times compared to 9 for the Suns. Those 2 stats lead to the Nuggets attempting 17 more shots, and if you get that many more attempts than your opponent, you don't have to really shoot that high of a rate. But even then, they still did. You know what I mean? So, what are you guys' thoughts on this one? From a side or total perspective? But if you look at it, all 3 matchups this season in Denver between these 2 teams, the Nuggets have scored 125 or more. That's kind of the way that I'm going here, that their Nuggets team total is at 116. I can see them going over that team total once again. But Matt, let's go to you here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'll be honest, Ron. I thought you made a lot of great points with this. When you look at the Denver Nuggets, I do think that they have the better bench in this spot. Bruce Brown is better than any bench player on the Phoenix Suns. And, I was trying to figure out that rotation. I wasn't sure if it was a 6-man or a 7-man rotation last time, just because I saw Torrey Craig. I didn't see any Cameron Payne, I believe. So Jock Landale definitely came in. So, yeah, probably a 7 or 8-man rotation. So they're keeping it very, very tight, giving them very limited minutes. But in this spot, I actually would be with the Suns with the points. I'm not confident enough to take the money line here. I believe it's still at +4. Last I looked, it was +4. And I do look at this a little bit like the last series with the Clippers. The Clippers came in, won game 1, surprised the Suns a little bit. And kind of to my point earlier, what I talked about, I think this Suns team may have been a little bit shell-shocked when they first faced this Denver Nuggets team, just for the fact that they were playing a Clippers team that was far easier to score score on. They were far easier to defend, stuff like that. It was going to be a far faster pace, things of that nature, especially without Kawhi Leonard, because that Clippers team had to pick up the pace to get that game going and try and compete. But with this Denver Nuggets team, it's a little bit different because their starting lineup is just as good as that Phoenix Suns starting lineup. And, the more I watch this Phoenix Suns team, the more I feel like they actually mimic that Brooklyn Nets team that was losing in the playoffs year after year. And I say that just because these two lineups are so top heavy. I originally went Suns in this series. I'm going to stick with that for the time being because I do think they can bounce back. I do think Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are the two best players in this series. I do think that when it comes down to it, they'll be able to score more than Jokic. But with that being said, I'm not confident enough to take the money line here. I am going to be with the points. My best bet is going to be a player prop from this game as well. And I do think, to your point, Ron, this is going to be a game where both teams get out and run. This Denver Nuggets team has one of the best starting units in all of basketball. Michael Porter Jr. hasn't played well, and I think 3 games in a row. Wouldn't be shocking to me if he goes out and gets his typical 15, 20 points in this spot. He is a streaky guy, so if he can come out and hit those first couple baskets, then I think he's going to get going for sure. But some other guys that I expect big games from are Kevin Durant, are Devin Booker. I'm going to wait to get into that for my best bet. But for me, I am definitely looking at the Suns with the points here, with the +4. I think that could be too much here. And one thing that we've seen in this playoffs is, typically, you look at even the Warriors-Kings series, first game, or the Kings sweep at home. They win the first one. They blow out the Warriors. The next one, really close game. Same thing with the Warriors. First game, they blow the Kings out. Second game, very close. Kings almost take it. So this is one of those spots where I do expect the Suns to step up. I expect them to compete here. I expect this to be a closer game. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Suns do get this one. But all in all, I'm going to be with the Suns +4.
Yeah, I mean, those are some good points there. The other thing too that you mentioned, the pace up play, expecting a pace up play in this game, in game 2 here. Well, I talked about how the Suns, spoke about wanting to be more physical. They only attempted a combined 32 free throw attempts in that game 1. So if they're going to be more physical, they're going to be, you're expecting a pace up play. It seems like the over in general might just be a good look. I mean, if they're going to be, if it's going to be a tighter game, faster pace, we might see more free throws because of the physicality that the Phoenix Suns want to go into this game with. So, man, just going while listening to you break that down, it seems like over might be the way to go there. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this one? Do you see anything from a side or total perspective?
Yeah, I can't argue with that total either. I do like the other side of Matt here. I actually really like Denver, and it's close to being a legitimate premium play for me as well. I think this Denver team's come out with something to prove. I've said it before. I think that they're probably one of the most underestimated 1 seeds, at least coming out of the West, that we've seen, in the last few years, that nobody's talking about them having potential or anything of the sort. And I think one thing that we've learned from seeing all these super teams in the last, quote unquote super teams, if that's what you want to call them, in the last couple of years, is they have worked out, but they haven't worked out in the first year. All the way back to LeBron, the first one didn't work out in the first year. And we've seen it a couple of times. Kevin Durant going over. We just saw it in Brooklyn. That didn't even last a season before that one fell apart. And, experience has been a key. And while, yes, Kevin Durant has playoff experience, Devin Booker has a little bit of playoff experience too, their experience playing together is non-existent. Obviously, it's the 6 games, whatever, that we've seen, the 5 games in the first series and the game 1 in this most recent series. And I think that chip on the shoulder from Denver is going to, along with that slight experience factor playing together, is going to play a big role here. I mean, Matt kind of mentioned it. Bruce Brown is the only one in this series, or the only one between these two teams that is not a starter that is averaging double digits in the playoffs. So they got a double-digit scorer coming off the bench. All 5 of Denver's starters are averaging double figures. And they're 4 that, we always think about, Gordon, Porter, Murray, and Jokic, are all averaging 15-plus points, all averaging at least 7 rebounds or assists, and all shooting 40% or better from beyond the three-point arc. So they're getting it done from multiple levels. They're getting it done scoring at different, from different angles, from different aspects and different players on the field. And not to mention, you got a Phoenix team that is 0-9 in their last 9 games as an underdog, and they've only covered one of those there too. So I like Denver here tonight, especially at home. I do think Denver takes this series. I think Phoenix gets a win or two on their home court. But Denver playing at home here, give me Denver with this chip on their shoulder. I think they got something to prove in this series.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys are kind of convincing me to take that team total over that I was just mentioning here, or even that full game over. For the most part, it seems like Denver. I just don't know if Phoenix can stop Denver's offense at this point. And also, my top premium play is on this game here, so I won't be talking about it too much. But for the most part, I think I might actually add this team total over on the Nuggets side to my premium card. But let's actually get to that. Let's talk about our best bets for the show here and what you guys got going on over on the premium side. Matt, let's start with you. I think you're on mute.
All right, I was muted. My bad. Yeah, guys, I'm going to have a couple plays on the premium side over at sportsmemo.com tonight. One of these will be the best bet. I really do like tonight's best bet. And, man, some really good points today. Jeff bringing up the points with the Thunder and Ron with the total and stuff like that, because I definitely agree with a lot of that. When you're a team and you're brand new to each other, it definitely does take some time to come out and win some playoff series and stuff along those lines. But I did think that the Suns were going to be next round. So we're going to have to wait and see with this Nugget series. It's going to be a great series either way. But for me tonight, the guy that I'm actually looking at is going to be Kevin Durant. I have Kevin Durant over 29.5 points tonight. And a lot of the reasons why is what we talked about on this show. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are going to get crazy high minutes. They should see 40 minutes. They're going to get a ton of usage. And it wouldn't shock me at all if this was one of those nights where Devin Booker and Kevin Durant both go out and get 30 points. Kevin Durant, when facing this Denver Nuggets team, he's actually gone over 30 in 3 of his past 4 matchups. And again, I just expect the volume to really be there for Kevin Durant tonight. Kevin Durant is experienced throughout the playoffs, is generally that go-to guy. I expect him to get his mid-range going. To Ron's point once again, I expect him to attack the basket a lot more. They need to get more free throws. They need to get some of these guys like Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. They need to try and get them in free throw trouble. Another thing is DeAndre Ayton and Nikola Jokic. Jokic is going to have to face or pay a lot of attention to DeAndre Ayton just for the pure fact that one of Ayton's highest averages in his career is against Nikola Jokic. He's averaging over 20 points per game. He's averaging over 12 rebounds per game. So if you have to pay attention to DeAndre Ayton down in that post, that's going to open up things for Kevin Durant that much more. And then with the way that Devin Booker has been playing, when he drives to the basket, you're going to have to look at him with 2 bodies. You might have to bring 2 bodies to him. And then once again, that's Kevin Durant. That's where he comes into play. And if, in fact, Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. either or can get in foul trouble, they really don't have anyone else who can guard KD. He's too big, he's too long, and he's too good in that mid-range, taking you off the dribble, getting to that basket, things along those lines. So for me, when Kevin Durant plays his best basketball, it's generally in the playoffs. And this is one of those series where I expect him to take that step forward and go for 30 points tonight. Game 2, it's a huge game. They just got blown out. Just like Jeff said, I think the Nuggets have a lot to prove. I think the Suns have a lot to prove here with this rebound too. They laid it all on the line, making that trade for Kevin Durant. They need to prove something tonight. So for me, I think it's Kevin Durant over 30 points in this spot.
Yeah, it makes sense. If they're going to have any opportunity to get this win, Kevin Durant's probably going to have to lead the way there. Jeff, let's go to you here. What is your best bet for today's show, and what do you got going on the premium side over at sportsmemo.com?
You may not have guessed it, thinking about what me and Matt were saying about that last game, but may not surprise you that my best bet is player prop from the other side there too. So I'm looking, excuse me, I'm looking at Joker tonight. I mean, he's 47.5 in his PRAs, and I still like him to go over. I mean, that's when you look down DraftKings, you look down those teams, the 47.5 obviously stands out as the high number that we got going around between these two teams. But I was just looking while Matt was talking too. his average on the season, Nikola Jokic is averaging 46.28 points, rebounds, and assists per game this season. So not even in the playoff mentality that you're fighting, again, with that chip on your shoulder. Just in the regular season games, he's averaging over 46 there. And I went back and looked in his playoff history. He's gone over 50 PRAs. So not even just over this number, but at least 50 points, rebounds, and assists in 18 postseason games. That's something that players don't do 18 times in their career. And he's done it 18 times in the playoffs alone out of a team that has won minimal series over that run anyway. So your opportunities are limited. He's done it in 3 straight games leading up to this, 6 out of the last 9. And I'm going to call it 6 out of the last 8 because one of those is game 1 and he played 28 minutes and he was hurt and knocked out. And like I said, 18 of his playoff games in his career. And I'm looking back at what he did the first series too. I know Minnesota isn't a team that we thought was going to come out and win the championship or really even win the series. But personally, for Joker out there, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert playing defense on you, a 3-time defensive player of the year and a center playing the power forward position, I mean, is no easy task. I don't care who they have surrounding them, supporting them, experience, whatever it may be. Getting past those 2 guys and making them look as small as he did and running these numbers. And he did it again in game 1 against Ayton. So I'm not going to try and stop this immovable object that keeps plowing through these big men because, I mean, 50 plus is definitely within reach, no question. So 47.5 at just minus 120. Give me Joker tonight to go over those PRAs.
Yeah, I mean, he only played, 32, 33 minutes in that game 1, and if we expect a better output from the Suns, he would probably play heavier minutes as well, right? So that's more opportunity for him to put up some PRA there. My play is going to be on that same game there. You know, I talked about the league-wide trend where the first game here, it's the Sixers and the Celtics. I talked about that league-wide trend earlier since 2016 NBA playoff. In the NBA playoffs, heavy favorites, double-digit favorites in round 2 or later are 15-2 straight up, 6-10-1 against the spread, but 12-5 to the over as well, allowing the dogs to go over their team total in 11 of those 17 games there. So that is support for the Sixers to cover the spread and the full game to go over. But I wanted to pivot off of that and really just focus on what I think the Sixers can do, because if the Sixers are without Embiid, they do play a little bit quicker. They play a quicker pace. They have more opportunities for scoring there. The other thing is, you know, I think Jeff mentioned, you know, how the Sixers do without Embiid on the court, 12-5 straight up and against the spread over this season. They also went over their team total in 12 of those 17 games as well. And if you look at it, when they play against teams with a winning record without Embiid, they play up to their opponent's level, 7-1 straight up and against the spread, 7-1 over their team total in that instant as well. In the first round, we saw that the Celtics started to struggle on the defensive side of the ball towards the end of that series. They allowed the Hawks to go over their team total in the last 4 games of that series, and each time by at least 8 points. So it's not like they're sneaking over that team total. They're allowing teams to sneak over that team total. They're going over by margin. So I would strongly lean towards the Sixers covering this large spread, but for the most part, I think I like the Sixers to go over their team total a little bit more than the spread there. And it's at 102.5, I believe. Last night when I was looking at it, it was at 101, but it has come up to 102.5. If Embiid is officially out, I think that number is going to come back down to where I saw it last night, around 101, 101.5. But that would be my best bet for today's show. I also have a premium play on that Suns Nuggets game. I also have a premium play in the MLB today as well. So if you want to head over to sportsmemo.com, those are available for just $9 each there. With that said, guys, that's the 2 games tonight. We got 2 games tomorrow, but our next show will be on Wednesday. Should be here on the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard on the same channel. Till then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Peace.
Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.